What it do, folks? It's your boy Charles Younger, and welcome to Maryland Live at the Voice of College Football. Again, I am your boy Charles Younger. You can find me all across the place in cyberspace. I like to steal that from my buddy Mark Gray at Charles Younger. That's CharlesNyonga. And for all things college football, please go to the Voice of College Football website. That is the Voice of College Football website. That is the Voice of College Football website. Like, subscribe, and share across all your social media. As you can see below, follow us at the X at the VOCFB. Go to vocfb.com for all your college football takes from across all of our channels: Big Ten, SEC, ACC, NCAA overall, college football. The Voice of College Football is where you have it, the best commentary in college football. How many times can I say college football in one sentence? You do the counts. All right. Now that we got that part out of the way, let's talk about Saturday's game. That's right, you see it. Maryland lost to Nebraska 34-31. Again, Maryland lost to Nebraska 34-31. That is my Dr. Umar imitation there. I repeat myself 15 times. I repeat, Maryland lost to Nebraska 34-31. First off, a couple of things I want to point out is the fact that this is the second consecutive game where Maryland had a fourth quarter lead and blew that lead for the loss. The second straight game. And this game, they picked off Dylan Riola 3 times, including a pick six by Dante Joyner in the third, which basically you would think would have sealed the game for him. But somehow, some way, every time Maryland took a lead, the offense seemed to get stagnant, complacent, and inept. When the team was attacking the ball downfield, moving the ball downfield, that's when they scored. That's when they make the big plays. Once they got the lead, they start doing all these little 3 outs and these little lame runs, counter runs that did not gain any yards. They would do a lot of 3-and-outs, a lot of punts. If you want to go over some of the numbers here, let me bring up the stat cast here. Maryland was up. What did I have it here? Maryland was up. I just had it here. Now the my website resets. Oh, here we go. So let's go quarter by quarter and see what happened here. First quarter, Nebraska came out firing. The score was at the end of the first was 7-0. Nebraska had 150 yards to Maryland's 31. Nebraska was running the ball 11 yards, 5.5 yards to carry on 11 carries. Passing yards 90. Maryland was held to a punt and only had the ball for 5 minutes and 35 seconds compared to Nebraska's 9:25. Second quarter, at the end of the second quarter, it was tied. Sorry, excuse me. Second quarter, it's tied score-wise. They both scored 17 points. But Maryland outgained Nebraska 184 yards to 59. Malik Washington was balling in the second. He was 15-22 for 120 yards and a touchdown. But here is the key thing that we got to notice here in the second quarter. Maryland had 4 penalties for 43 yards compared to Nebraska's 0 penalties. So that's going to be a theme in this game when you look at the final stat line of Nebraska versus Maryland. Maryland was running the ball pretty well at 7.8 yards a clip on 8 rushes for 60 yards, while they held Nebraska in check for 21 yards on 6 carries. Then at the end of the half, Nebraska was up 24-17. The yards were comparable at 209 to 215 in favor of Maryland. Rushing was even. Comparable, not even. Nebraska 81 yards rushing to Maryland 63, but they both carried at 44.8 yards a carry. Passing yards, Maryland had 152 at the half on 19-27, while Nebraska only had 128 on 8-12. Excuse me. But again, look at here, the penalties. Nebraska had 2 penalties for 20 yards, and Maryland had 6 penalties for 68 yards. That's going to come back to haunt you big time in this game. Turnovers. Nebraska had 2 turnovers in the first half to Maryland 0. So you got to think about this. Maryland basically outplayed Nebraska for the most part, except for a few key runs here and there by the running back. Excuse me, I have his stats here. Let me bring up the stat line here for you. By running back Emmett Johnson, who ended the game with 21 carries for 177 yards and a touchdown, and he had a long of 50. That 50-yard runner in the fourth was a dagger for Maryland's defense. But Maryland still had the opportunity to come back and win this game, even after picking off Dylan Raiola 3 times, including an interception return for a touchdown by cornerback Dante Joyner. However, Dante did blow some coverage in the game, which led to Nebraska getting in scoring position in the red zone, and Nebraska was 5 for 5 on trips to the red zone. So the defense appeared to, I would say, buckle down early and then get deflated after a large gain by Nebraska, and they somehow could not keep Nebraska out of the red zone. So when we come back, we're going to go get more into depth of this game against Nebraska, and I'm going to have comments from the OG, Mark Gray, who's unfortunately unable to join us today. However, he is here with us in spirit, and he sent his comments about this game and what he believes about what he thinks about Maryland's football team moving forward.
College football is even more exciting when you've got some action on the line, and the games are even better when you're cashing in. And the Voice of College Football is the place to be to get the greatest value. Start with my picks. 75% against the money line, 58% against the spread, and I've got a 40-plus year track record. 11-0 in the college football playoff for me last year against the money line, 8-3 against the spread. And I'm just the warm-up act. Steve Merrill of Wager Talk is our ace in the hole, show stopper. 7 years with the Voice of College Football, over 30 years in the industry. Steve gives us analysis on all the big games, but you can't miss Steve's weekly under-the-radar pick. 28-12 against the spread the last 3 years. You also get picks from some of our top analysts here at the Voice of College Football, including Corey Bratta, Matt Zemek, and Steve Dace. Check out those numbers. Become a YouTube or Patreon member for just $99 per month. Go to the main channel on YouTube, click Join, and then select a betting tier. Do the same thing on Patreon. Make 2025 a winner now.
Make 2025 a winner now with the Voice of College Football, where we bring to you the best college football coverage in the nation. You can go to the big networks. All they talk about is the same 5 things, but you want in-depth, detailed insight to your favorite college team, which is us here at the Voice of College Football. Now back to the story at hand. I am your boy Charles Younger here at the Voice of College Football Maryland Live. You can follow me across all the places, all over social media at Charles Younger, where you want to talk a little football. You don't have to be Maryland. You can talk about any bit. You can talk about college football, pro football, basketball. We have the baseball postseason going on right now. Holler at your boy when it comes to sports talk. Now moving on. Let's go back to the stat line of this game. I want to break it down. I'm just go to at the end of 3. Maryland was up 31-24. Check this out. Total yards, 321 to 266 in favor of Maryland. Rushing yards through 3. They are tied at 114 yards total rushing. Passing. Dylan Raiola was 12 of 17, 3 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions for only 102 yards, while Malik Washington was 23 of 31 for a touchdown and 207 yards. And I'm going to come to you with one more stat. 6 penalties for 68 yards through 3 quarters. And each one of those penalties was a dagger and momentum killing. Maryland made a great play, and unsportsmanlike conduct here. Holding penalty there, passing finish here. illegal manfield downfield there. Every time Maryland would make something good happen, a lack of a lack of, like I say, a lack of discipline would come into play. So I want to toss this to Mark Gray, who has his insight up to what's going on with Maryland football.
The frustrating thing about the last 2 weeks in College Park, Maryland, was that Maryland has proved that they have talent to play with anyone in the conference. Unlike years gone by, this is a team who mano a mano can match up with just about everybody. But I think we are looking at some underbelly of youth. Too many mistakes, too many critical stops that they aren't getting, oftentimes being out physicaled in critical moments. I'm looking at a team right now. I don't want to say it's falling apart, but the soft part of the opening of the schedule didn't necessarily open the sores that we're seeing right now. And there is some vulnerability with this team on the edge right now. We saw Dylan Raiola just simply come in on Saturday, and I gotta tell you, I was very impressed with him, the way he came back. He gives up a pick six, but he also throws a 65-yard touchdown pass, right? And he also gives up a 67-yard, interception. And at that moment, that seemed to flip the momentum in the game for the Terps. Now, here's where, if you ask me, Maryland's immaturity comes in. Now, when the Huskers were going to make a comeback, you knew that, and they responded. Following the pick six, they had a scoring drive, a long one, all right? And after Luke Lidmeyer caught that 7-yard touchdown pass, it was 34-31 with just over a minute left. And in the back and forth tenor of this game, I think it would be safe to say that Maryland did come out of the locker room after taking those blows, and they opened the third quarter with their own 10-play, 75-yard drive, and they tied the game up. So you figure you're at home, and this is the thing that Maryland has to deal with right now. That's an underbelly that they're going to have to figure out how to deal with. There is no 12th man home field advantage in CQ Stadium. I don't know whether because you're dwarfed by teams like the Ravens on the north end of the Parkway or the Commanders on the south end of the Parkway. There's just not enough passion. Nebraska fan took advantage of the extended day holiday weekend. And I got to give big ups because Nebraska fans traveled to the nation's capital area. Now, you got to look at places like Lincoln, Nebraska, or Des Moines, Iowa. Those are places, Champaign, Illinois, if you will, that don't have a pro team. So they rally the troops and travel as they are an NFL team. So if you're in Lincoln, Nebraska, and you're Dylan Raiola, quite frankly, that's equivalent to being Jaden Daniels in D.C., really. And so Nebraska fan with the money on the line knew the protocols of how to get behind their team and give them some juice. And to me, I got to give their fan base, a true blue college football fan base, giving them an intangible. And even after the game, it was Nebraska players that were coming out because their fan base represented. And I think that that's something that is not germane to what Maryland is bringing out on the field. It's just germane to the fact that just when Maryland had the chance to become a thing in its area, they dropped two straight. Now, next week, they're going to go to UCLA, which is going to present its own set of challenges, quite frankly. First off, it's a long trip. Some would argue that it's actually a good thing for them to be leaving. But Maryland's got some significant holes on the defense. And my thing is, you need your defense to get stops, And when you get those stops, you can't make mistakes. And Maryland kept too many drives going with mental lapses and non-physical mistakes. And until they can stop beating themselves, a season with such promise is slowly but surely going to go into the toilet. Now, again, you can reset the entire season once again with a dub in the Rose Bowl next week. So it wasn't as devastating a loss as the loss to Washington was. And I think that the fans and some of us who cover this team on the beat were kind of shaken after the Washington loss. But then you get to the Nebraska game and you're actually now scratching your head. Now, there are a number of different things that Maryland is definitely going to have to clean up if they want to go out to UCLA, which is a winnable game. We must be mindful of that. The Terps themselves, as Lamont says, are still in contention for a shot at the Big Ten championship game. You know, they've had a coaching change in Southern California at UCLA. Rick Neuhausel's kid is now calling the plays. So there's going to be a whole lot of emotion there. UCLA does have talent and speed. I think if you look at the tail of the tape, they're going to match up pretty well physically. But Maryland's got talent, but they're still growing. And it brings to mind the question about the early season scheduling and not having that tougher schedule. Would Maryland have been better off had they played tougher teams to get ready for the conference schedule? Yeah, instead of going 4-0, but think about it. If you're 2-2 coming out of 4 really tough games and you're battle tested for critical moments, I'm of the opinion that you don't make the mistakes in the second half because you've seen this type of, for lack of a better term, enemy on the other side of the lines. You had physical advantages all through the first month of the season. Wisconsin might have been a ruse. This is a down year. So the last couple of weeks, I'm not going to say that Maryland necessarily got beat. They lost 2 games, and I think you can chalk it up, easy for me to say, to their youth and not really understanding how to handle the pressure of a big game. So I think next weekend is a defining moment in the season. And while there's still a lot to play for, not too many teams make a run at something other than the Mayonnaise Bowl or something like that when you lose 3 in a row during the course of the season, unless you got a reputation like a really high-end contender from, say, the SEC or another level in the Big Ten. So this is a big game with postseason ramifications, and to justify the change in position inside the conference that the Terps seem to think that they have. That's my story. I'm sticking to it. From Maryland Live on the Voice of College Football, I'm Professor G. Mark Gray.
You heard it right there from the OG, Professor G. Mark Gray. It was a combination of immaturity, a combination of, lack of discipline, etc. So I want to go back to the penalties here. But before we do that, let's hear a quick word from
college football is even more exciting when you've got some action on the line, and the games are even better when you're cashing in. And the Voice of College Football is the place to be to get the greatest value. Start with my picks. 75% against the money line, 58% against the spread, and I've got a 40-plus year track record. 11-0 in the college football playoff for me last year against the money line, 8-3 against the spread. And I'm just the warm-up act. Steve Merrill of Wager Talk is our ace in the hole, show stopper. 7 years with the Voice of College Football, over 30 years in the industry. Steve gives us analysis on all the big games, but you can't miss Steve's weekly under-the-radar pick. 28-12 against the spread the last 3 years. You also get picks from some of our top analysts here at the Voice of College Football, including Corey Bratta, Matt Zemek, and Steve Dace. Check out those numbers. Become a YouTube or Patreon member for just $99 per month. Go to the main channel on YouTube, click join, and then select the betting tier. Do the same thing on Patreon. Make 2025 a winner now.
Make 2025 a winner now. That's right. This is your boy Charles Young here, coming to you with Maryland Live at the Voice of College Football. And we're going to hear some words from Coach Loxley about his team and how they performed against Nebraska.
Of a game for anybody that was there in the stadium. One great college football game. Obviously it hurts for anyone that's in our locker room. They work really hard to give themselves a chance to have an opportunity to win there at the end. Really love the fight, the effort that this team continues to show. They show resiliency in this game, down 2 times, 10 or more points, and they battle back. And to me, when people leave here, they look and they see that this team has and will play hard. Obviously, one of the things we talk about around here is nobody's going to give us anything. And I'm not coming in here to be – anything we get, we're going to have to take or earn. And that's one of the things that, again, a week ago, we didn't make enough plays. This time we get it till there were zeros on the clock, and we're competing, scratching, scraping, and fighting to find a way to win. And I think with that type of effort, you'll see the results of it. Obviously, didn't do it today. Credit Nebraska for Matt and his team. Again, a week later, these guys made plays that they had to make, and it's something you got to give them credit for. But now we'll take it back on the road. We got a short week where we got to head out to California. We'll leave Thursday, so we got to get a lot of work done and get this one behind us pretty quickly while making the necessary corrections for the trip out to LA. And
he said right there, they got to make necessary corrections. They did fight. They did do their best job to fight back and compete with Nebraska. They had several opportunities to win this game, to put it away, but like I said, once again, penalties and lack of focus cost this team. I'm going to run down the penalties that Maryland had this game. We have a kick catch interference. It's a 4th and 9 in the second 14 in the second quarter. Bryce McPherson punted the ball 47 yards to the Nebraska 39. Fair catch by Ja'Cory Barney Jr. Penalty on the catch. Interference by Gavin Edwards. Moved the ball up 15 yards. We have a delay of game on a 4th and 6 in the 4th penalty before the snap. That's when the team had the opportunity to possibly move the ball down the field to try to get back in the game, and an intentional grounding in the 4th. These are all offensive penalties that should not have happened. Intentional grounding was questionable because he said Malik was not outside the pocket, but you can be the judge of that. I think it was borderline. They could probably let it slide, but at the end of the day, it was loss of down, loss of yards, and put Maryland too far back in order to make a conversion to try to maybe take the lead in this game. Defensive penalties. We have a 1st and 10 pass interference. Dylan Riola passes to the left, Ingleton into Isaiah Hunter. Penalty pass interference, automatic 1st down. Boom, keep the drive alive. Pass interference on 2nd and 8 in the 1st. Riola passes to Dane Key. Pass interference, 7 yards, automatic 1st down. Unsportsmanlike conduct on a kickoff of all things. Nasir Taylor enforced unsportsmanlike conduct, unacceptable. Another unsportsmanlike conduct in the 2nd. Isaiah Mosey made a rush in the middle, gain, penalty, unsportsmanlike conduct on Ian Thomas, 15 yards. Another unsportsmanlike conduct in the 2nd. Dylan Riola passes deep to the left, intercepted by Glass. After the interception, there was a one of the linemen, I can't remember which lineman it was, Cam Rice, excuse me, the senior Cam Rice, who should know better, shoves Riola down, which pushes Maryland back 12 yards after the penalty. So 3 unsportsmanlike. The other penalties can be, forgiven because they still were able to put points, but unsportsmanlike conducts are not forgiven. We cannot let stuff like that happen. And we're going to hear from the players right after this.
College football is even more exciting when you've got some action on the line, and the games are even better when you're cashing in. And the Voice of College Football is the place to be to get the greatest value. Start with my picks. 75% against the money line, 58% against the spread, and I've got a 40-plus year track record. 11-0 in the college football playoff for me last year against the money line, 8-3 against the spread. And I'm just the warm-up act. Steve Merrill of Wager Talk is our ace in the hole, show stopper. 7 years with the Voice of College Football, over 30 years in the industry. Steve gives us analysis on all the big games, but you can't miss Steve's weekly under-the-radar pick. 28-12 against the spread the last 3 years. You also get picks from some of our top analysts here at the Voice of College Football, including Corey Bratta, Matt Zemek, and Steve Dace. Check out those numbers. Become a YouTube or Patreon member for just $99 per month. Go to the main channel on YouTube, click join, and then select a betting tier. Do the same thing on Patreon. Make 2025 a winner now.
Make 2025 a winner now. I'm your boy Charles Younger here with the Maryland Live at the Voice of College Football. CharlesNYonga across all social media. Follow us, the website, as you can see there, the Voice of College Football, THEVOCFB, across all social media platforms. Go to the webpage, the vocfb.com for all your college football information. Now let's hear from a couple of the players. They had also the presser about what went wrong here against the game against Nebraska.
Hey Malik, wanted to ask you about the intentional grounding late in the game. Did you feel like you were outside the tackle box? Is that just was kind of the process? And then that last drive, can you just take me through kind of the ups and downs? You made an incredible throw on 3rd down. It felt like you maybe missed Fleming on the 4th down. Just the intentional grounding and take me through that last possession.
Yeah, with the intentional grounding, in the situations like that, time is more important than yardage. So once I felt like, I was away and I didn't want to take a sack in that instance or try to run around and make a play, just being able to get the ball out of bounds. The call was a call. It's nothing that we can argue against. We're just going to keep playing. And then, Ford made an amazing play on the 3rd and long, being able to catch that ball in the window like that and take a shot. And then on 4th, I just got to keep my feet set, get my front shoulder closed and make the throw.
Pretty self-explanatory there. Now we're going to hear a little bit from Jalen Husky, the defensive back and leader of this defense.
4th, back-to-back weeks, giving up a late touchdown, giving up the lead. Just what needs to change on the defensive end to kind of close out these games?
It's all about really communication and fighting and strain and finish. We gave up those plays, and it's plays that we know we can defend. So at the end of the day, we just got to finish. That's all it is to it.
Hey, Jalen, I know, it's easy to say, just get in on Monday and, kind of take care of everything. But, you kind of being a senior, a guy that's been here, how do you, in the locker room or, position groups, kind of keep level-headed and kind of keep the main thing and not let now 2 consecutive losses kind of drag?
I think you got to review the game, but let the game die today. The game's over. I mean, win or loss, the game has to die. We have another game next week, so we have to go out, prepare, and put our best foot forward for next week.
Front row on the right here.
Hey, Jalen. The penalties today, specifically the after-the-play penalties, what needs to happen for those to be cleaned up as the season goes forward?
We just got to be more disciplined at the end of the day. That's not something that's coached. It's not something that we emphasize, to go after the whistle. It's a player thing. We inflicted that on ourselves. At the end of the day, we have to fix it. So the players, we'll get it corrected.
He said it there. They will get it corrected because that is something that the players have to fix. These unsportsmanlike conduct penalties won't fly. Not they won't fly in the Big Ten part. You know what I'm saying? You won't be able to. And Washington and Nebraska are not. They're not Penn State. They're not Oregon. They're Penn State. Penn State is not Penn State right now. So, but that's a story for another day. This year, luckily, we don't have to play those schools, but we do have to play Indiana this year. And Indiana looks legit. Indiana just beat Oregon. Indiana's coming into our house, and they beat Oregon, one of the top number three team in the country. They beat Oregon, so that's going to be a tough matchup. You can't have unsportsmanlike conduct penalties against teams that caliber. Speaking of coming to our house, I want to go back to something that Mark said earlier about the home field advantage. I noticed that there was, whenever Nebraska made a big play, there was a loud eruption from the fans in the stadium, as if like we were in Lincoln. Like it felt like it might have been, a nice weekend for the family in Lincoln, Nebraska, to take a trip to DC, come see the sights, come see the monuments. Oh, actually, you couldn't see the monuments because the government shut down. Oh well. However, come to DC, hang out, go, hang out, have a good time, come to College Park, come to girls, get together, have a few laughs, and watch their team. It felt like an away game for Maryland almost because there was so many Nebraska fans there. Now there were Maryland fans, but there were a good amount of Maryland fans there, but there were enough Nebraska fans there to make it seem like it was an away game. Sitting in the press box, looking across the field to the other side of the stadium, it doesn't help that both teams were red, so you wouldn't know they were Nebraska fans until you actually heard they were Nebraska fans by cheering for every time Nebraska made a play. So this is me calling out the fans of Maryland football. This is a straight shot at you people. Step your game up. Support your team. Who knows? Maybe when Maryland's on defense, you need a home crowd getting loud. To unleash the fury. For those who are Caps fans out there, know what I'm talking about. Get loud. Do not let the other team run their plays the way they can in a quiet stadium. It felt like the defense, the stadium was quiet. On offense, the stadium was loud, trying to distract our players. That's not going to work. You need a home field advantage for a reason. That's why you play at home, to have the home field advantage, to have your team, your fans, the 12th man, they say, support your team. But that is going to be a rant we're going to go more into when I get to talk with Mark Ray later this week as we go to our normal show as the Voice of Maryland, Maryland Live at the Voice of College Football continues. So I'm going to leave it with this. One, self-inflicted penalties, personal fouls, unsportsmanlike conduct, stuff like that. Fix it or get off the field. Two, offense. You need to continue to attack the ball down the field. No more of these dig and duck 3-yard outs and hoping they can make somebody miss. If it's third and 8, don't run a 3-yard out and hoping the guy makes a play. At least try to get the ball somewhat close to the line, to the first down marker, and maybe make a play. Don't throw it that far behind the line. 3, Malik, don't be scared. Make a play. Use your legs. There are several opportunities where you are scrambling and you were looking to throw it, but if you just ran it, you would have the first down. Now, I'm not saying I could do better because I am not a quarterback. I'm not in the fire of the action. But sometimes it's okay just to tuck the ball and run. You have the wheels. You can do it. Take advantage of it. And 4, Ted Monachino, get your boys in check about these personal fouls and unsportsmanlike conducts, because we can't afford to lose. We have the talent on defense to play with anybody. We can't afford to lose any players off that defense, whether it be through being suspended, ejected, etc. They need to be in the field in order for the team to win. And on that note, I am your boy, Charles Younger, here with Maryland Live at the Voice of College Football. This was our recap show of Maryland's second consecutive fourth quarter collapse as they lost to Nebraska 34-31. And they do head to UCLA to play the Bruins for their fourth Big Ten game. The Bruins had to fire their coach. They're it's a winnable game, but it's traveling west to east. Obviously, traveling east to west is a lot easier than traveling west to east. So we have to take advantage of the fact that this is a winnable game to get back on track. Plus, I will hit my over and the win total for Maryland this year at 4.5. So we're there at 4. We can't have this be a normal Maryland year where we start off hot with 3-4 wins and then lose the rest of the way. We need to finish the season strong. We have this huge week coming up. I said at UCLA, and then we do have a bye week, I believe. Let me double check the schedule here. We are at UCLA, and then we have a bye week, which is threatening because we have Indiana, number 17 in the country, coming into town for homecoming, and Coach Loxley and this Maryland Terrapins team is 0-10 after a bye. We're trying to make it 0-11 there. So we have a bye week, and then we have a stretch in November with Indiana, travel to Rutgers, travel to Illinois, come back home with Michigan, and then close the season out at Michigan State at Ford Field. So once again, for the voice of college football, this is Maryland Live. I am your boy, Charles Yunga. Follow me at CharlesNYONGA. Follow the website, VOCFB.com. Follow us on X. You see all of them up there. YouTube, X, Instagram, Facebook, Spotify, iTunes. The VOCFB. And once again, I bid you guys adieu. And check us out on Friday with the Voice of College Football Live, Maryland Live with the Voice of College Football, where we will do our preview show of the UCLA Bruins. Stay tuned and come back and see us next time.